My name is Ethan Taylor. I'm 41 years old, and I've spent the last 17 years in real estate, helping people find their forever homes. But ironically, I lost mine to someone who claimed she had found her soulmate. This isn't a story I ever planned to tell. But the day I stood on my own driveway, watching my ex-wife and her new boyfriend carry boxes into the home we once built together, I knew it wasn't just my story anymore. She was smiling. He had his arm around her waist. They were laughing like teenagers, giddy with excitement as if nothing had ever happened. Like I never existed. And I stood there, not screaming, not crying, just watching. Because what they didn't know was that the name on the deed had already changed. They thought they were moving into their new beginning. But the house they were unpacking into, the house with the soft gray shutters and the handcrafted porch swing I built with my own hands, wasn't hers to offer anymore. And they were about to find out, in the most humiliating way possible. You see, 6 weeks before they ever signed the lease, I had already started moving, not my furniture, but my strategy. And while they were busy lighting candles and planning fresh paint colors, I was quietly removing every trace of her name from the documents that gave her the illusion of control. Let me take you back a little. Before the lies, before the betrayal, before she told me I was holding her back. Because this didn't start with a lease. It started with a love story I thought would last forever. A story where I gave her everything, including half of a home she never truly wanted, except when it benefited her. She moved in thinking she'd won. But she forgot I was the one who signed the dotted lines first. I met Lena when I was 28. I was already grinding hard, selling mid-range properties, flipping a few fixer-uppers, saving every spare dollar to invest in my first personal home. She worked as an interior designer, freelancing for small offices and doing decor on the side for new homeowners. She had this effortless charm, walked into a room like she belonged there, even if it wasn't hers. We met at a staging consult for a home I was selling. And I swear, she had me from the second she rolled her eyes at the plastic flowers I'd put in the entryway. "You're trying to sell a home, not a funeral parlor," she said with a smirk. She was bold, opinionated, full of vision. And I was completely taken in. One coffee turned into lunch, which turned into late-night wine, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. Within 2 years, we got married. The house came next, a modest 3-bedroom fixer-upper in South Austin. I paid for it entirely with the money I'd saved since I was 22. Put the title in my name. But somewhere along the line, maybe it was love, maybe it was stupidity, I added her name to the deed. No prenup. No second thought. Just blind, naive trust. Because that's what love's supposed to be, right? The house became our sanctuary. We worked on it together. Every Sunday, we'd roll up our sleeves and renovate a little more. She picked the paint colors. I handled the tools. We built something real, or at least, I thought we did. I remember this one moment. It was our 5th anniversary. She stood in the kitchen, barefoot, cooking French toast, humming a song I didn't recognize. The sunlight hit her hair just right, and she looked over and said, "This feels like forever. Doesn't it?" Yeah, it did. But now I realize, forever only existed in my head. Because slowly, so slowly I barely noticed, that version of her started to fade. She stopped singing. Stopped laughing at my dumb real estate jokes. Stopped asking me about my open houses or new listings. At first, I thought she was just tired. She was doing a lot of design work for high-end clients now. Late meetings, high pressure, always on her phone. But there was something else, something colder. She started going on these wellness retreats, yoga weekends, meditation camps, self-discovery, excursions, always solo, always vague about where. When I asked to join once, she smiled and said, "This is something I need to do for me, Ethan." I told myself to respect that, support her journey, be the good husband. But when she came back from one of those retreats, something had changed. She stopped wearing her wedding ring, started talking about energy alignment and how some people grow apart spiritually. I brushed it off, told myself not to panic. Every marriage has rough patches, right? But something inside me knew. Then came the friend group I'd never met. The late-night texts, the locked phone, the subtle shift in how she looked at me, like I was furniture, functional, familiar, but no longer necessary. Still, I held on, because I believed we could fix it, because I remembered the barefoot mornings and the French toast, because I built our life around her. But then one night, her best friend slipped. We were at a local wine bar, celebrating Lena's newest design project. Her friend, maybe a little tipsy, turned to me and said, "You're being so cool about Daniel. Most guys wouldn't be." I just stared at her. "Who's Daniel?" I asked. Her face froze. She glanced at Lena, then forced a laugh. "Oh, just one of her clients. You know, nothing serious." Lena laughed too, but there was a flicker of panic behind her eyes. That was the moment the fog started to lift. That was the moment I stopped making excuses. But I didn't say anything. Not that night. Not the next day. Instead, I started watching. And when I opened the mailbox a week later to find a lease agreement, signed by Lena and someone named Daniel Whitaker, I didn't confront her. I just took a deep breath and began preparing for war. Her name was still on the deed, for now. But I was done being the fool who built her fantasy. It was time to take it all back, silently. After that slip-up at the wine bar, something inside me shifted. I stopped trying to fix us. And I started trying to see her for who she had really become. No more justifying late nights. No more brushing off gut instincts. I began watching her the same way I observe clients during high-stakes deals. Quietly, calculating, never blinking too fast. Because the thing about betrayal is, once you see the first crack, your eyes start finding all the others. It started small. She changed her phone passcode. Said it was because of client confidentiality. Funny, she never cared about that before. Then came the accidental, do not disturb mode. Every night. Every call went to voicemail after 9 p.m. Every notification hidden. Every message deleted for space. She stopped leaving her laptop open. Started taking it everywhere, even into the bathroom. She used to joke I was boring because I never checked her stuff. Now, I couldn't even if I wanted to. I remember one morning, I walked past the laundry basket and noticed a cologne scent I didn't recognize. It wasn't mine. I leaned in closer. It was embedded in one of her sweaters. A sweater I hadn't seen her wear in weeks. She didn't notice me holding it. But I noticed how fast she snatched it from the pile when she came into the room. "Laundry's my job this week," she said, with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Another time, I walked into our shared office and found a notebook with a scribbled list titled, "Things I Want But Can't Say." I only had time to read the first 3 before she came around the corner. Freedom. A man who listens. The house, but not the husband. She laughed it off when she saw me looking. Said it was from a manifestation journal workshop. I nodded. Said nothing. But that night, I went out and bought a second external hard drive. It was time to document everything. I stopped engaging emotionally. She noticed. Started acting sweet again, a little too sweet. Offered to cook dinner, even made my favorite baked ziti. But it was off. Everything felt performative. Even the way she touched me had changed. It was mechanical. Empty. One night, I pretended to fall asleep early. Laid in bed, still facing the wall. Around 2:07 a.m., I heard her phone vibrate on silent. She got up quietly and padded out to the kitchen. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. I didn't turn on the lights. Just stood in the hallway listening. Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Yes. He still thinks it's a lease for his cousin. No, Daniel, trust me, it'll be perfect. He's emotionally checked out. And once the papers go through, we're in. I didn't breathe. She hung up, turned, and for a split second, our eyes met in the hallway light. She froze, but I just smiled, walked past her, and went to get a glass of water. Didn't say a word, because I already knew everything I needed to know. And silence, I realized, was my greatest weapon now. Over the next week, I started noticing the real plan unfold. She was no longer hiding Daniel. She just wasn't naming him. There was suddenly talk of a friend from her retreat needing a place to rent. She said he was a good guy going through a divorce. Said we could help him by leasing the guest house for a few months. We didn't have a guest house, just a spare room with a closet and broken fan. But she was spinning this fantasy fast. She even drew up the lease herself, printed it out, left it casually on the kitchen counter. I glanced at it one morning. 2 signatures were already there, hers and his. Just one line was blank, mine. That was when I realized. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to move him in under my roof. To legally co-occupy the house I bought, with a man she was hiding in late-night calls. And if I'd signed that lease blindly, it would have given him tenancy rights I could never undo. But what she didn't know was that I'd already taken the lease to my lawyer. And my lawyer had laughed. "You'd be shocked how many people make this mistake," he said. "But don't worry. If she thinks she's playing chess, you're already 3 moves ahead." That night, Lena cooked again. She made steak, rare, the way he liked it. Not me. We sat across from each other, clinking glasses of red wine. She looked peaceful, victorious almost. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her glass. I smiled, raised mine too. To old mistakes, finally being corrected. She didn't understand what I meant. But she would. Very, very soon. The next morning, I removed her name from the deed. And 2 days later, she handed me the lease, asking me to sign, smiling, thinking I had no idea. It was a Thursday, mid-June. One of those suffocating Texas afternoons where even the air feels heavy with judgment. She was standing in the kitchen, hair done, makeup perfect, pretending to scroll casually through her phone while humming along to some playlist I didn't recognize. I was watching her from the hallway. Not stalking. Not spying. Just observing, like a man who's finally stopped lying to himself. She looked happy. Lighter. Like someone who had already moved on, mentally, emotionally, physically. And for a second, a painful second, I wondered, was I really that easy to discard? But then she said it. She didn't even look up from her phone when she said it. "You know, once Daniel moves in, the house is going to feel more alive." She said it like it was casual, like she was talking about buying a new rug or rearranging the sofa. That was the moment I snapped. Not out loud, not violently, but inside, like a steel door slammed shut in my heart. Because until that moment, part of me, some fragile, pathetic part, still thought this was temporary. A bad chapter. A midlife identity crisis she'd come back from. But hearing his name from her lips, spoken with warmth, with comfort, with certainty, shattered every last illusion. She wasn't just cheating. She had replaced me. And she was standing in my kitchen, in my home, talking about moving her affair partner in, while I was still breathing in the next room. I didn't yell. Didn't accuse her. I just stared at her and said, "You really think you know how this ends, don't you?" She glanced at me with that smug smirk she'd perfected lately. "Ethan, stop being dramatic. It's not like I'm kicking you out. We're coexisting. Like adults." Like adults. Right. Adults who gaslight. Adults who lie. Adults who sign leases behind your back and smile like it's nothing. I nodded slowly. "You're right. Let's be adults." That was the last conversation we ever had where she thought she was in control. Because from that moment on, I stopped reacting and started executing. The next morning, I went to my lawyer again. Told him to move forward with everything. Quietly. No notifications. No alerts. We filed the new deed paperwork. Stripped her name from the property entirely. It was clean, legally airtight. 2 days later, I got a notification. A $3,000 wire transfer had hit our joint account. It was labeled, "Deposit from Daniel Whitaker. Lease start, July 1st. She was using my house to collect rent from her boyfriend. That money? I moved it out instantly. Froze the account. Filed to split finances through early divorce proceedings. But I didn't say a word to her yet. Not until I had everything ready. Let her smile. Let her believe. Because what's more satisfying than revenge? Letting someone destroy themselves with the very rope you handed them. I didn't cry that night. I didn't argue. I sat in the dark, surrounded by the silence of a house I once called home, and I started planning her eviction, one legal step at a time. You know how soldiers are trained to study terrain before the ambush? That's exactly what I did. I studied her patterns, her language, her delusions. While she planned for a cozy new life with Daniel under the same roof, I spent my nights with legal documents, evidence folders, and a manila binder titled, "Exit Strategy. Proof of Adultery." My lawyer said we didn't need it. Texas is a no-fault divorce state. But I wanted it anyway. So I hired a PI. Not the shady kind with a long coat and cigarette. No, this guy was ex-cybercrime division. He didn't follow them. He followed their data. He pulled location pings from apps she forgot were still logged in. Found burner emails. VPN traces. He even accessed a backup folder from her iCloud. Something she didn't know was syncing photos automatically. There was a picture. Mid-hug. Mid-laugh. Her head on Daniel's shoulder. In front of a rental sign with the caption, "Our new life starts here, Red Heart." They were standing in my driveway. The sign was photoshopped, but it was still my bricks, my porch. You ever feel rage so cold it makes you calm? That's where I was now. That lease she had me sign? I didn't. I printed a doctored copy, mimicked my signature, and sent it back to her via a shared Google Drive. Let her think it was signed. Meanwhile, the actual document sat blank and untouched, in a locked drawer next to my passport. She emailed Daniel. He signed it. We're good. Perfect. Because now, they were operating under false assumption, believing Daniel had tenancy. But he didn't. Legally, the house belonged 100% to me. And since I had not signed any lease agreement, Daniel was just a guest. No rights. No notice required. No protection. My lawyer drafted a formal notice of revocation of verbal agreement. Delivered by courier. Stamped. Signed. Legal. It said, effective immediately, any implied co-tenancy or unauthorized occupation is considered trespassing under Section 30.05 of the Texas Penal Code. A second copy went directly to Daniel's work email, courtesy of a little research. He was a transformational coach at some online masculinity retreat program. His public profile disappeared the next day. Guess he didn't want his alpha clients knowing he was being legally booted by the husband of the woman he was sneaking around with. I changed every password. Netflix. Wi-Fi. Bank logins. Security system. Installed motion sensor cameras. Upgraded the alarm app. Facial recognition only. She couldn't access anything now. Not even the coffee machine app. And every move they made? Every sneaky text, every whispered plan? I saw it all. I watched one conversation happen in real time. Daniel. So when can I move my stuff in? Lena. Ethan's cool with it. He's being mature about the whole thing. Daniel. LOL. Sucker. Lena. Let him think he's winning. You'll be here full-time by July. They thought they were running the show. But I was the one controlling the lights, the locks, and the lease. The calm before the strike. I started sleeping better. Funny how that works. When you stop trying to fix something rotten, and instead start planning how to cut it out cleanly. Lena noticed. She started getting nervous. Said I was being too quiet. She tried flirting again. Wore that same dress from our 3rd anniversary. The one she said was too tight now. I told her she looked beautiful. She smiled, maybe thinking it meant something. What she didn't know was that I had already paid the deposit on her relocation. She just didn't know the destination yet. Then came the day. June 29th. 2 days before her Soulmate was scheduled to move in. She came home to find a single white envelope taped to the fridge. Inside, a notarized letter stating, effective July 1st, Lena Whitaker is no longer authorized to reside on property owned by Ethan Monroe. All belongings must be removed within 48 hours. Failure to comply will result in formal trespass and lock change. She didn't scream. Didn't cry. She just sat down on the couch, silent, staring at the paper like it was written in another language. I said nothing. Just walked past her, grabbed my keys, and said, You wanted a house that felt alive? Go start over. Somewhere else. Then I left. Let her sit in the ruins of what she thought she controlled. She thought I'd never fight back. She thought I'd roll over, stay silent, let her build a new life on my dime. What she forgot is that I was trained to win wars without raising my voice. July 1st. I sat in my truck, parked across the street from the house I built, the house I paid for, brick by brick, memory by memory. It was surreal, watching it from a distance. But this wasn't nostalgia. This was the final move. Lena didn't know I was watching. Neither did Daniel. I saw him pull up in a rented U-Haul. Confident. Relaxed. Wearing cargo shorts and a grin that belonged to a man who thought he just conquered something. He kissed her at the door like he owned the place. They were laughing. carrying boxes, taking selfies like it was their personal victory, until the sheriff pulled up. Cue the scene. 2 officers, calm, professional, holding a folder with the legal documents I had sent through the county clerk's office 48 hours prior. The officers knocked politely. Lena answered, confused. Daniel stepped forward, puffed his chest, trying to take control. There must be some mistake. I'm on the lease. The officer held up a copy of the actual deed. My name alone. No lease. No tenancy. No rights. Then he read the official statement. Sir, you are currently trespassing on private property. You have 15 minutes to remove any personal items and vacate the premises. Daniel went pale. Lena turned red. This is harassment, she snapped. This is his doing. The officer didn't blink. Ma'am, this isn't a domestic dispute. This is illegal property enforcement. You have no standing here. You've been notified in writing. Daniel tried to argue. Tried to show the fake lease, the one she forged. The one I never signed. The officer scanned it, handed it back. This document is not legally binding. You've been misled. That hit Daniel like a punch in the gut. He turned to Lena, voice shaking. You said it was signed. You said we were good? She stuttered, cried, grabbed his arm. But he stepped away from her. He realized, right then, that she had built their fantasy life on a lie. And now it was crumbling. I stepped out of the truck only after the last box hit the sidewalk. Walked up slowly, calmly. Lena saw me and froze. Ethan, you don't have to do this. I didn't answer her. I looked straight at Daniel. You should be more careful about where you unpack your future. Then I turned to Lena. You asked for space. Consider this the whole universe. And I walked inside, into my house, my sanctuary. Locked the door behind me. Left them standing on the curb, surrounded by broken boxes, a few old shoes, and the stench of a relationship built on betrayal. But the story didn't end there. Because a week later, we were in court. Lena thought she still had a claim to the house. Tried to argue. Contribution to shared assets. But my lawyer was a genius. He submitted the following. Proof of full financial ownership before marriage. Evidence of her affair. Timeline showing her intent to cohabitate with Daniel under false pretenses. Texts proving she attempted to collect unauthorized rent from a third party. And the best part? The audio file. It came from a smart home system she forgot I had reconnected. She had told Daniel, even if Ethan finds out, I'll twist it. He's too soft. He'll probably apologize to me. That played in the courtroom. Out loud. Everyone heard it. The judge leaned back, folded his hands, looked straight at Lena and said, Ma'am, I've seen some manipulative behavior before. But this is a masterclass in cruelty. She didn't look up. Couldn't. Daniel didn't even show up to support her. He'd gone dark after the eviction. The final ruling. Full property rights to me. 0 spousal support. A court order for her to pay half of the legal fees. I didn't even smile. There was no joy in winning. Just peace. Sometimes peace feels like silence. And this silence was earned. Later, I heard she moved into a 1-bedroom apartment 2 cities over. Daniel didn't go with her. She tried to reach out once. A voicemail. I was just wondering if you'd want to talk. I deleted it, without listening to the rest. The courtroom went silent. I played the audio file, and everyone heard what she really thought of me. That was the moment I finally felt free, not because she lost, but because I walked away clean. It's been 11 months now. The house is quieter than it used to be. But it doesn't feel empty. It feels clean. Peaceful. Like the air itself let out a breath the day she left. The pictures are gone. The rug she insisted on, gone. The fake plant in the hallway she never watered, gone too. I replaced all of it with things that actually mean something to me. Books I've always wanted to read. A punching bag in the garage. Photos of my parents, my army buddies, and my dog Tank when he was just a pup. The space I live in now finally matches the man I really am. Not the version she needed me to play. I still get asked sometimes, "Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you burn it all down?" Because revenge doesn't need to be loud to be complete. Sometimes the best revenge is reclaiming your peace and letting them destroy themselves with the lies they thought would save them. I met someone recently. Nothing serious. Just coffee, conversation, shared books, laughter without tension. And maybe that's enough right now. She doesn't know what happened, at least not all of it. And I don't need to tell her. Because I'm not carrying the story to bleed. I'm carrying it to remember. I was betrayed. But I didn't become bitter. I was lied to. But I didn't start lying to myself. I was left. But I didn't leave my own soul behind. There's this quote I heard once in basic training. You can lose the battle. You can even lose the war. But if you lose yourself, you've lost everything. That stuck with me. Because I almost did lose myself. In the silence. In the manipulation. In the pretending. But I came back stronger. Not just smarter. Not just colder. But clearer. And if you're listening to this, maybe you're where I was. Feeling confused. Alone. Blamed for someone else's betrayal. Let me tell you something I wish someone had told me when it all started. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're just waking up. And when you finally stop trying to fix what broke you, you'll find the power to rebuild something better. Not for them. Not to prove a point. But for you. So yeah. She moved in with her soulmate. But I changed the deed before they signed the lease. And in doing so, I reclaimed everything she tried to take. My home. My future. And most of all, myself. She took the fantasy. I kept the foundation. And I built a life on that, one brick of truth at a time. If this story hit home for you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. Tell your story. Because someone out there needs to hear it.